I'm not a big fan of first-person shooters.
Whoops.
Mostly because I kind of suck at them.
Don't. Oh. I didn't know you had a sword because my team did not
What
communicate
the
that.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy them. I've played them a lot. They're pretty much my main outlet to playing games with my friends.
Or that bastard's eye out.
We're never gonna punish. I'm not gonna punish.
You guys are gonna
I'm
get
getting
fucked up.
shit on.
Chances are, if you're into shooters, it's to play multiplayer online. And honestly, it feels like you gotta dedicate so much time and effort just to be effective and enjoy yourself. Going up against some of these guys feels like a joke. Some people are just too good. And in this popular multiplayer landscape, no one's really interested in the single player campaigns as a selling point anymore. A lot of games are multiplayer only, no single player at all. Before this rise of multiplayer games and shooters, you had such a large library of campaign gems. BioShock, Halo, Modern Warfare 2, Bulletstorm, Half-Life, the list goes on. All these games have amazing single player campaigns that still hold up today. Yet single player modes have mostly taken a back seat in first person shooters. Instead, what we're seeing are developers copy-pasting popular mechanics, making slightly different versions of virtually the same game, and pretty much writing off single player as the mode no one plays. So they don't really care to innovate in any unique way. In 2016, those old shooter tropes were shattered when id Software reminded everyone how single player campaigns still have so much to offer the FPS genre.
Benefits us both.
The reboot of the Doom franchise is the complete inverse of today's shooter model. It's sold completely on its campaign, not its multiplayer. Clear thought and effort went into making this game fun, unique, and above all, so different from what we've become accustomed to in an FPS. So what made the Doom reboot so different? Mainly two things. Firstly, you didn't take cover and wait for your health to return slowly over time, like some kind of jag. In Doom, enemies charge at you, forcing you to fight in the fray, getting up close, glory-killing enemies in brutal ways to get health. And secondly, there's no reload function. Instead, you switch weapons on the fly to whatever has ammo in it. Right off the bat, these two unique mechanics change the way you play an FPS entirely. Less this. And more this.
I never wake up. I hope 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 I never wake up.
Then the sequel, Doom Eternal, went even further, building off the mechanics of its predecessor, refining it to near perfection. Eternal made that managing of resources even better by adding a flamethrower to get armor packs, a chainsaw that refills gas over time to get ammo, a blood punch that breaks armor and deals AoE damage, 2 grenade types, one for damage and another for crowd control, a sword that kills any single enemy in one shot, and weak points on enemies to take them down quicker. This new feature in particular separates Eternal from its predecessor. When we think about the core mechanics that make a game fun, variety in how you approach situations and different enemies is something that immediately comes to mind. This is where the shooting at weak points really shines. In Doom, as fun as it was, fighting tougher enemies pretty much became a war of attrition, dumping ammo into varying bullet sponges until they went down. But the new vast enemy vulnerabilities in Eternal encourage you to switch weapons and make full use of your expansive arsenal, for more than just weapons you use when your super shotgun is depleted. Here's an example. Firing grenades into the mouths of the floating eye demons allows for instant glory kills, making the grenade launcher mod an ideal choice. The shielded enemies force you to use the plasma rifle to make their shields explode and do extra damage. Shooting at the Revenant shoulder cannons forces you to be more precise, actually making use of the precision scope on the machine gun. I don't think I used the plasma rifle or machine gun much at all in Doom 2016 because they were so hopelessly outclassed by better weapons. It was so cool to see that I wasn't being forced to use my entire arsenal simply for the sake of using everything I had, but that every weapon had a distinct purpose. And with this new weapon mod system, you can switch mods on the fly. It's perfect for tackling all the unique enemy types and making it as thrilling as ever. Plus, the demon bodies even decay where you shoot them. That tiny detail adds so much satisfaction, watching your enemy literally deteriorate as you blast them away. The fights are definitely more overwhelming, but with all these new options at your disposal, it feels fair and never cheap. There's always something you could have done differently. The increased mobility of being able to double jump from the start, dashing, wall climbing, swinging on the monkey bars adds an entirely new feel to the fighting and exploring. Sometimes the game feels like a platformer, something I usually hate doing in first person. You usually don't feel as in control since you can't really see where your feet are gonna land, but somehow Doom Eternal nails it. The controls are tight and intuitive. The platforming puzzles are some of my favorite parts of the game. You're not just walking around trying to find a key card to progress. Exploring maps for extra lives provides incentive to not sit through the loading screens when you're defeated. Slayer gates and secret time combat segments add extra optional content that are fun, challenging, and definitely worth seeking out. The settings are also distinctly different this time around. It's not a copy-paste job. In Doom, you fought on Mars and in Hell, making the overall struggle feel somewhat distant. In Eternal, you fight mostly on Earth after it's been ravaged and terraformed from the Hell invasion. You see decimated freeways, broken down military mech suits, remnants of society before a world-bending catastrophe. You can't help but feel invested when obliterating your way through the game. Even simple additions like adding a main hub to travel between missions is so much better than the linear mission-to-mission approach in the first one. It gives you a chance to take a breath and take in all these new mechanics. They even went so far as to give you an X-Men danger room to practice your new form of demon slaying consequence-free.
Class dismissed.
id Software could have very well phoned in this sequel to their successful reboot, but instead they went the extra mile and delivered a product that almost makes their original masterpiece obsolete by comparison. That's a feat that should not be overlooked. If only all developers put the same amount of effort into making unique and innovative games, focusing on what makes games good and how they can improve, rather than just pushing out a shinier new version of the same old thing. Games like Doom and Doom Eternal really raise the bar for game development and sequels all around. I really hope id Software inspires other developers to create some great, innovative, and creatively fun single players themselves. Doom and Doom Eternal reminded me, I may not like first-person shooters much, but I sure as shit do when they're this good.